Monday, July 1st, 2024. I took off from Denver International Airport and landed in LaGuardia, New York City. When I landed in LaGuardia, I had to go and pick up my vehicle that I would be traveling with. See, I had the idea that if I went to New York City, the capital of New York, I could drive it 6.5 hours to where my friend was staying at the time with his family, my childhood friend. The reason why I wanted to make this trip so long from the airport to his house was because I've never driven in New York City or anywhere in New York. So I wanted to see, almost sightsee, the whole place of New York. So once I landed in LaGuardia, I had to go pick up my vehicle. I got the keys and I got it from the Turo app. So once I located the vehicle and I got the keys and I started driving, I had to drive from New York City all the way to upstate New York where he lives at, which is Rochester, New York. So I got the keys, I turned the ignition on, and I started driving 6 hours and 30 minutes all the way upstate to Rochester, New York. And once I arrived there, the first thing I did was I went to the grocery store and I bought some food so that I could eat. They had food at the house, but I was like, you know what? I spent so long. I already drove so long that I just want some food now. So then I arrived at my friend's house. And when I arrived at my friend's house, obviously it was a very good feeling, celebratory feeling, like, okay, alhamdulillah, I made it to the destination and I get to see my friend that I haven't seen in a couple of years, actually. So he invited me inside and we started to talk and we started to, collaborate and stuff like that, and catch up on things. So days go by. I stayed there for 2 weeks. I went to Rochester for 2 weeks and I stayed there for 2 weeks. I did go out of the country too. I went to Canada since Rochester is so close to Canada, and I have cousins that also live in Canada. So that drive was so nice. Oh my God. But anyways, when those days ended, maybe the second or third day, I was gonna go to Canada, and the place where my cousins live in Canada is in Ottawa, and Ottawa from Rochester is about maybe 4 or 5 hours away. I was supposed to go to Canada with my friend. And mind you, I planned this exact trip maybe 5 to 6 months ahead of time. And I told him, like, hey, like, this is the plan. This is what we're supposed to be. This is what we're supposed to go and do. So I told him, like, hey, let's go to Canada together. You can meet my family in Canada and stuff like that. So he was like, that's a great idea. So I told him, hey, you got to get your passport because there's no way you're getting into Canada without a passport or anything like that. There is an exception for people that live in New York City or along the border of Canada. They get like a special star on the top right of their license plate or license. They get like a star on the top right of their ID cards and identification cards. So you can enter Canada through that if you just have that little star, but you still have to go to the DMV and you still have to register for it. So I told my friend months in advance before planning this trip, I was like, yo, let's go to Canada. I need you to either get your passport. Yo, I don't need to get a passport. I can get one of those stars on the top of my ID. So I was like, that's a great thing. Like, that's not too much of a problem because like you could just go to the DMV, get the star. So I didn't really think too much of it until the day that I was gonna go to Canada. I literally told him, I was like, yo, you ready? He was like, yeah, about that. I can't go, dude. I was like, what do you mean you can't go, bro? We planned this months in advance, bro. He's like, yeah, I talked to my mom and she said that I needed that star on the top right of my ID. I was like, you didn't get that? He was like, nah, man. So I was like, okay, cool. well, I'm still going to Canada, so I hopped in the car, turned the ignition on, and then I started driving to Canada. And honestly, that was probably one of the most beautiful sceneries I've ever had. Not only that, it was in the summer, so like the fresh air, breathing in that fresh air, like it was just so beautiful. And going around that huge lake where or huge lake that is surrounding Niagara Falls, it was amazing. So I like 3 or 4 hours into the drive, I made it to my cousin's house. And once I made it to my cousin's house, mind you, these are cousins that I've never seen in my entire life. I've never seen these cousins in my entire life. Only my dad knows of them. It was a very pleasant feeling to finally find my family. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just like, yo, hi family that I've never met. But I stayed with them for a couple days. We went to the capital of Quebec, which is like where Parliament is and stuff like that. We walked around town. We saw everything. And then we also went zip lining. We went zip lining across like a river or like a lake, like it was a river. It was almost a river. We went zip lining over a river. And we went when we were in Canada, and that was that was pretty much the highlight of Canada, other than seeing my cousins. So I was sleeping one day. My cousin comes up to me, the one that I've never met in my entire life, and he was like, "Yo, I gotta move your car. It's blocking something. It's blocking this car or something." So he moves my car, the car that I rented on Turo. And when he moved my car, he moved it into a restricted area. Like you can't park this car where he moved my car. So I ended up getting a ticket from the Canadian whatever traffic enforcement or whatever. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? Do I technically have to pay for this ticket? It's not like I'm from Canada, anyways. But they were like, I was like, yo, don't pay for it. I was like, don't pay for it. It's like, no, they could track it back. They could track it back to the car, and you'll have to pay for it over the whatever. So I was like, you know what? All right, man. Just if you want to pay for it, you can pay for it. But if you don't want to pay for it, I mean, halas, it's not that big of a problem. So I ended up coming back to the United States of America. I really like the Canadian borders a lot more. Like it's just more. It looks like an actual border. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking about coming through the Niagara Falls side, but then I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go straight back. So I drove 5 to 6 hours back to my friend's house. And once I drove to my friend's house, we're like, oh, like how was it? This and that. I was like, man, it was great, dude. But then I think a couple of days after that, we were gonna go to New York City. So I forgot what exactly happened. We were gonna go to New York City and plan like a lot of other stuff in New York City, and we basically came to the conclusion like, hey, I was there for basically I had maybe I think it was 3 days left in New York City. So I had 3 days left in New York City, and and we only had to do the activities. I forgot why, but basically I was only gonna stay there for 3 more days. Okay, and I think it was four or three. I think it was three. 3 more days. And the activities that we wanted to do, we could only do it in 2 days, because the third day, I had to leave, and I had to leave very early. My flight took off very early. So we had almost a limited amount of time to also do the things that we wanted to do before getting to New York City, which was going to Niagara Falls. So we came up with the idea that, hey, it was about maybe 10 a.m. or it was about maybe 2 p.m. We said, hey, we could go see Niagara Falls like when it's sunset and stuff like that, right? And then once we see Niagara Falls, we could just straight head to New York City, and then we can reserve the hotel while we're going to New York City, and then we can go and sleep in the hotel. To me, that sounded like an amazing idea. But to my friends, like parents, were like, "Well, you understand the risks of it and stuff like that," and we were just like, "Yeah, but there's no possible way because the activities that we wanted to do were literally on that day that we were supposed to be in New York City." And mind you, New York City is like 6 hours away, right? So like the time for us to go to sleep and then wake up and then drive to New York City, or not even sleep at all, just drive to New York City, be in New York City, sleep in New York City, and then do the activities in New York City. Um, it would have been a lot more, efficient. So we were like, okay, let's just go to Niagara Falls, and then right after Niagara Falls, just head to New York City. Let's just go to New York City. So then we head to Niagara Falls. We get some cool pictures. I even met Jack Sparrow, dude. I met Jack Sparrow, and I don't know if that's real Jack Sparrow, but that is Jack Sparrow right there. But basically, we go to, and then it was just, the sightseeing was so beautiful. But since my friend didn't have his passport, or he didn't have that ID star on the top of his, license, he couldn't go to the Canadian side with me. And honestly, to anybody watching this and that you want to go and see Niagara Falls, go to the Canadian side. The Canadian side is 110,000 times better than the American side. American side is still pretty cool. Don't get me wrong. You could see the waterfall. Like you could see the fast moving water into the, you know what I'm saying? But it's not like for sightseeing. It's like you want the full picture, right? We got a couple of shawarmas, and then we decided to go and head to New York City. As we're going to New York City, and it's about maybe 10 p.m. It's about 10 p.m. So as we're heading to New York City, we started booking the hotel. We got a hotel. When we get there, we're chilling, right? Like we just gotta go. We gotta be there now. So we get to New York City, right? And as we're getting into New York City, we get to Broadway, and that's like the main part of New York City, right? That's where everything is. Times Square, everything. We park. We figure out that the time that we booked our hotel rooms was the day after we got there. So we tried to go to sleep in the car. We couldn't go to sleep in the car. I got myself some energy drinks. We started drinking it, right? Then once it was sunrise, we went to the MoMA first. That's the first thing that we did, is we went to the MoMA. And honestly, it's so beautiful. That was really cool. And then we went to the Empire State Building, and then we got some photos on the Empire State Building. And then we decided, yo, we're so tired. We started to get aggravated. We were just like, man, let's just go to sleep, bro. And then we went to the hotel. We found out that, the person that was in our hotel left the hotel early so that we could go in and, sleep and stuff like that. When it came towards the end of my trip, me and my friend were just chilling in New York City and having a great time, right? Having a blast, laughing and stuff like that. And then it was his time to go. So he took the train all the way from New York City, all the way upstate to Rochester, because there's a train that goes from New York City to Rochester. And then I left on my plane back to Colorado on July 15th. It was a blast. I want to do it again, honestly. I would love to do it again, and I would love to bring you guys too with me. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, subscribe. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Peace.